Hi everybody, Steve here at El Camino Cemetery in San Diego, standing here right at the gravesite of singer Patti Page. She sold over 100 million records during her career. And she's just one of a half a dozen equally famous people who I'm here to visit today. And I'm sure you'll recognize many, if not all of them. And I think many of you will be surprised when you find out who they are. Thanks for joining me on another trip to visit the most memorable cemeteries, memorials, and gravesites. So who else remembers singer Patti Page? I remember her well because every time I was with my grandmother, whenever we were driving anywhere, she would always have her station on, and Patti Page at the time, this was late 50s, early 60s, Patti Page was on the radio constantly. Remember the Tennessee Waltz? How Much Is That Doggy in the Window? Old Cape Cod? I mean, some real classics. And then she had her own TV show as well from, I believe it was 1955 to 1958, The Patti Page Show. So how many of you remember that TV show? Page died at the age of 85 in Encinitas, California, from lung and heart disease on January 1st, 2013. She was the best-selling female artist of the 1950s, and in 1965, her song Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte from the movie of the same name was nominated for a Best Song Academy Award. Her signature song, The Tennessee Waltz, was one of the biggest selling singles of the 20th century. And in 2013, she received the Lifetime Achievement Grammy Award. Her gravesite is located here at the top of the hill, right behind the large mausoleum with the beautiful bell tower that you see on the left-hand side right after you come in through the front gates. And I'll show it to you in a minute because I'm heading there next to visit 3 more famous final resting places. So what's your favorite Patti Page song? I think mine is probably the Tennessee Waltz, but I really do like them all, and the classic radio station that I listen to here in Palm Springs still plays them all today. Page's gravesite is located here in the Tranquility Terrace section, and just at the end of the street or cul-de-sac is the mausoleum and bell tower. As you can see, it's very early morning and the sun is just starting to rise, so everything's still in a lot of shade. He wasn't a famous singer, movie star, or sports celebrity, but I'm guessing that you all still know his name, Joseph Coors, or at least his last name. He was the grandson of brewer Adolph Coors and the president of the Coors Brewing Company, and he's laid to rest here on the north side of the mausoleum, here at the end of the cul-de-sac. He died from lymphatic cancer at the age of 85 on March 15, 2003 in Rancho Mirage, California. I'm surprised to find him here. I really would have expected to have found him in Colorado. Standing here this morning, I'm having flashbacks of a summer road trip I took with my family back in the 1960s to visit relatives in Colorado, and the tour we took of the Coors Brewing plant in Golden, Colorado. It's funny how a gravesite can bring back so many great memories from a summer vacation taken decades ago. If anyone happens to know why he's laid to rest here, please share with us in the comments section down below. Here's the bell tower that I mentioned earlier, and the mausoleum of the bells. The mausoleum corridor to the left is the sanctuary of devotion, and the mausoleum corridor to the right is the sanctuary of love. And this is where we'll find the crypt of actor Preston Foster and his wife, actress Sheila Foster, whose stage name was Sheila Darcy. Preston Foster was a stage, radio, TV, and film actor who appeared in more than 100 movies during his 4-decade career. He died following a long illness at the age of 69 in La Jolla, California on July 14, 1970. As you can see, their crypt is located just inside the door here, on the wall to the right, about halfway down the corridor. After they were married, Sheila Darcy retired from show business and took her husband's last name. In the 1930s and 40s, she'd appeared in movies like Zorro's Fighting Legion, Jungle Man with Buster Crabbe, and Terry and the Pirates, in which she's remembered for her role as the Dragon Lady. She died in the city of Kearney Mesa, not far from the cemetery here, at the age of 89 on February 24th, 2004. Straight ahead, at the end of this corridor, just outside the doors to the right, are the crypts of billionaire business moguls and philanthropists Ray and Joan Kroc. Ray Kroc was a fast food tycoon who made his fortune by turning the small McDonald Brothers hamburger stand business into a global franchise. It went on to become the most successful fast food corporation in the world, and Time magazine called Krok one of the 100 most important people of the 20th century. In 2016, he was played by actor Michael Keaton in the movie The Founder. He died from heart failure here in San Diego at the age of 81 on January 14, 1984. His widow, Joan Kroc, was a philanthropist and humanitarian. She died from brain cancer at the age of 75 in Rancho Santa Fe on October 12, 2003. I read somewhere that many famous people got their start working at McDonald's. People like Jeff Bezos, Jay Leno, Rachel McAdams, Sharon Stone, James Franco, Pink, Paul Ryan, Carl Lewis, Star Jones, Annie McDowell, and the list goes on. I never worked for McDonald's. Did any of you? Or do any of you? Please share with us in the comments section. It would be fun to know. At the bottom of the hill in the Madonna lawn section, just across the street from the cemetery offices and chapel, are the final resting places of two more famous people. Not far in from the curb is the gravesite of Major League Baseball player Chico Ruiz. He was a very popular player with the Cincinnati Reds and the California Angels, but tragically died in a car crash at the young age of 33 here in San Diego on February 9, 1972. And I'll pan around so you can see a little bit more of this section where he's laid to rest on this very cold January morning. That's the cemetery office and flower shop across the street. In the past, I've received many comments from subscribers saying that I pan around way too fast and make everyone dizzy. So I'm going to slow down a little bit today, and hopefully this will be better. You'd be surprised how difficult it is to pan slowly. It's also surprising to realize that Ruiz has been gone now for nearly 50 years. It seems like it was just yesterday. Buried just about in the center of the Madonna lawn section is singer Billie Daniels. You might remember him from his hit recording, That Old Black Magic, which became his signature song. During the 1950s, he was one of the first African-American entertainers to host a network TV variety show. He died from stomach cancer in Los Angeles at the age of 74 on October 7, 1988. His TV show was before my time, but I do remember his music, and like Patti Page songs, I still hear them on the radio today. And in case you're wondering, I would consider this a medium-sized cemetery. I think I could walk from one end to the other in about 10 to 15 minutes. The next gravesite I'm visiting is right across the street in front of the lake, or pond, and I'm guessing that it's probably the most popular destination here in the cemetery. So who remembers Milburn Stone, who played Doc Adams on the TV series Gunsmoke for 20 years? They ran from 1955 to 1975. He died in the city of La Jolla, which is not very far from the cemetery, from a heart attack at the age of 75 on June 12, 1980. And his gravesite is pretty easy to find. Once you enter through the front gates, you drive a short distance until you see the pond on the right-hand side, and his final resting place is just a few rows away from the pond in the Vista del Lago section. And the curbs in this cemetery are very well marked, making it much easier to find the section you're looking for. Gunsmoke was not only one of the most popular American TV shows of all time, it was also one of the longest running series. So were you a fan of the show? Or are you still a fan of the show? Like most baby boomers in the US, I certainly remember growing up watching the show. Surprisingly, his gravesite didn't have a GPS, so I just added one to his Find a Grave Memorial page. Now on the other side of the pond is the final resting place of American football legend Pete Rozelle. He was the NFL commissioner for nearly 30 years, and in the 1970s, he helped create the Super Bowl and Monday Night Football. The Super Bowl is now one of the biggest events on the planet, and Monday Night Football is the second longest running TV show in American history, followed only by CBS's 60 Minutes. And on top of all of that, he was inducted into the Professional Football Hall of Fame in 1985. Rozelle died from brain cancer at the age of 70 in Rancho Santa Fe, California on December 6, 1996. His ashes are interred here in the Lakeview Mausoleum, within Columbarium Room 1. The small Columbarium Room is located on the first level, overlooking the pond, and to find it, you just drive around to the back side of the chapel and park in the parking lot next to the Lakeview Mausoleum, which you'll see right in front of you. Page, Coors, Krok, Milburn, and Rozelle are some of the giants within their respective industries. And so is this next person. He became a household name back in the 1950s and still is today. Medical researcher and pioneer Jonas Salk is credited with discovering the polio vaccine, which was one of the world's most crippling and deadly diseases at the time. If you're a baby boomer, then you probably remember just how frightening a disease it was back in the day when we were just kids growing up. So Jonas Salk is laid to rest right here, just inside the front gates. It's the very first section that you come to on the left, up on this little hillside. This is the Jewish section here. And the front gate's just right back there. It's a very modest gravesite, which I guess you would expect, but it's in a really nice wooded area here. It's very different than the rest of the cemetery. The section is called Mount Shalom, and it's a pretty small section, and the GPS made his gravesite even easier to find. Salk died of heart failure at the age of 80 in the nearby city of La Jolla on June 23, 1995. This is my first visit to the cemetery, and I have to say I'm very impressed, not just with the cemetery, which is really beautiful, but even more with the notable people that I'm visiting here today. They've all accomplished amazing things and left lasting legacies. It's truly miraculous what can happen when talent, timing, and luck come together to create magic, the way all of these people did. And this week I'd like to thank my latest Patreon supporters, Dana Harden, Keith Conway, Jill McDaniel, Rick Whitehead, Joan Aguayo, Jeffrey Chiara, and Virginia Martins. Thank you all so much for your generous support, which really helps a lot to make these trips possible. So if you enjoyed today's visit, please give it a thumbs up and share with a friend. And don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to be notified when I upload future videos like this one. And if you did like this video, you might enjoy these too. So until our next trip together to the graveyard, thanks for sharing the memories, everyone.